afternoon. My name is Samson Osifo Ibinoba. We are here again to give you one or two insights about finance. And the purpose of doing this is for us to really continue on our YouTube channel and also enlighten people about finances. Today we shall be looking at what we call investment analysis. Now, investment analysis. Now, projects are brought forward to analyze. In our introduction to our course, I've said this and I'm saying it again, that the essence of finance are captured into these four concepts: investment decision, dividend decision, financial decision, financial planning decision. That is the whole essence of finance. But in this particular topic, we are looking at how we can really determine a project that is viable and that of the one that is not viable. How we can eliminate it and how we can also adopt it. And in this regard, in looking at that, we try to also capture a topic, which is investment analysis. Now, what is investment analysis? It's just a situation or a way or a process of identifying a project that is going to be viable. And how does a finance person analyze projects that are viable? There are steps or methodology used in analyzing these projects, and that is what we are going to be looking at today. The first way of analyzing a project is what we call payback period. The investor must be able to understand that I'm investing my money. When can I get my money back? That's the first thing an investor is looking at. So in a situation whereby an investor is investing and is not looking at his return, it shows that he's running a charity organization. And for any investor, he's looking at his return. So how is he going to get his money back? So the mindset of an investor or you investing into a project is for you to look at one thing. When am I going to get my money back? Payback period is a big factor for any investor. And the next that follow is net present value. Net present value, or they call it discounting cash flow method. Now, the net present value is also an indicative factor in analyzing a particular project, saying that what is the net value of this project? I have invested 100 million. What am I making now? So if all those things are not analyzed very well, the product may not be viable. I will put up a question regarding this. Then after that, we also need to look at what we call internal rate of return. Internal rate of return is the number of the net profit, which is the profit, the net present value of that project. Meaning, if you run a cash flow and at the end of the day you have a net value of 100 million, means that 100 million is what you have now. Now, how can you break even on that 100 million? And the break-even point for internal rate of return is normally 0. So if your break-even point of an internal rate of return is 0, this indicates or shows that that company has break-even. But how do we analyze all these things? We look at it when we look at project. We analyze it on project. How viable a project is. Can we continue? Can we go ahead with the project? All these things are indicators. Then we also look at what we call profitability index. Now, the profitability index of a project is also very, very vital. It's also very, very important that we need to look at. The profitability index is very, 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 very important, because at the end of the day, you want to go into a project and you are looking at it that, can I continue? And can I continue this project? How profitable is this project to be? Now, if all those things are not being measured, it shows that the project may not be viable. But however, let's just take this little example and let's just analyze this because of time. Now we have the year of investment. Then we can have the cash flow. We can have the cash flow. Now, in literary meaning, cash flow are accounting profit and non-accounting profits. That's what constitutes the cash flow. Now, let's look at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and 5. Then we can also apply year 0, which is the capital the person is having before he starts the business. Now, this man wants to invest 100 million into this business, 100,000 naira into this business. And in year 1, he makes a profit of 20,000. In year 2, he makes a profit of 50,000. In year 3, he makes a profit of 50,000. And this is 70, and Y, this is 20. These are the expected profits that is going to make. Now, let's look at the payback period with just this analysis. Now, if you look at the year 0, which is we are looking at payback period here. Then you look at the cumulative cash flow. These are just little examples for us to understand what we are talking about. Now, this man has invested 100,000 in the business. And the 100,000 he has invested, because of 100,000, let's look at that 70,000 to be 10. Now, he has invested 100,000 into the business. You want to know when he's going to make his money back. And he has invested 100,000. How do you do payback period? Very simple. Remove this 20 from this 100, you have 80. Remove this 30 from this, you have 50. No, now, in year 3, you are having 0, because 50 minus 50 is 0. So this man is going to have what? His money back. The payback period for this business is what? The payback period for this business is year 3. It's 3 years. So this man is going to make his profit back in 3 years. Now, the same thing goes to what? Net present value. Because the net present value is going to go with what we call time value of money. This man will have also gone to bank to borrow this 10 million, to borrow this 100,000 naira. So in payback period, you are all going to use what we call cost of money. Cost of money. They call it cost of capital. So, and if you are looking at the cost of capital, that is payback period analysis. And if you are looking at the payback, if you are looking at discounting, if you are looking at net present value, it's also the same. It's also the same pattern. Let's just follow what we have done before. This is cash flow. We call this discounting cash flow. So the discounting cash flow may be 10%, and the reason why this is 10% is because of the fact that the cost of money at that time is 10%. Means the cost of borrowing that fund at that time is 10%. That is the factor that is put in there. That is why they call it time value of money. It measures time value of money. Now, we have year 0, which is 100,000. And this is going to be 1 because the present, this one will not be the present value. Now, if you multiply 1 with this, we still have the same thing. Now we have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Then we have this one to be 20. We have this one to be 30 at that time. We have this one to be 50. Then we have this one to be 10. Then we have this one to be 20. Now the discounting cash flow there is a formula to it, which is 1 plus R into minus N. This R is the interest. So let me analyze it again. We have 1 plus 0.1 into minus N, which is number of years. So if you are doing year 1, you just put minus 1 here. So that will now be 1.1 into minus 1. So in getting getting the value of what is going to be here to multiply it with this, I believe it's going to be 0.9. I believe this one will be 0.8. You look at it, the number of years, this one will be 0.7 or something. This one will be 0.6 or something. This one will be 0.5 or something. So this have shown that there are always time value of money to this. Now when we multiply these factors, you find out that you'll be getting what we call net present value. So by the time you multiply this, you subtract it with this 100, you have what we call net present value. Your net present value may be negative, while your net present value may be positive, depending on how viable the business is. Now, if your net present value is positive, you advise your client that he can go ahead with the business. While the net present value is negative, you begin to question the morality of that business, that the business may not be viable. Now, aside from that, let's quickly go on because we have limited time to this lecture. I'm just trying to give index an understanding to what internal rate of return. Now, the formula for internal rate of return is very simple. You look at the first rate, then plus into the NPV1 over NPV1 minus into minus NPV2. Then you close the bracket, then you now put R2 minus R1. Now, what that implies is that we are going to look at 2 NPV, the net present value we got there the other time. We are going to look at 2, means we are going to look at 2 tables. Now, we have 15%, we have 10% at the first discounting factor. Then you now take an assumption that, okay, fine. In this parameter, look at the inflationary rates and the interest rate at that time. We have 10. Now, in the next 2-3 years, what will become this organization? So you look at that factor, and in the long run, because we live in a developing economy, the inflation rate will not reduce, it may increase. So you may put the first rate, which is 10%, you may put the second rate as what? 15%. Because in the long run, you must have a positive and a negative net present value. So what this implies is that you remove the R2, which is 15, minus R1, which is this, and we give you 5. So you use this 5, this is R1, and R1 is 10. Use the 5 to multiply. The indicator of this is to ensure that the investment is viable. And how does it happen? I've just explained it there. That the essence of this is that you must ensure that the break-even point of this analysis is 0. Means what that implies is that if your NPV, if your internal rate of return is reduced, it shows that that business is viable. But when you do for a project and the internal rate of return keep increasing, it shows that that business is not viable. You must get to a point where it's 0. Once it's 0, means the business is viable. You must break even. That is the essence of looking at the internal rate of return of a company. Now, because of time, let me just finish on this investment analysis. Now, the last is what? Profitability index. What is this simply implies is very simple. Then profitability index is looking at the net present value over initial investment. Over initial what? Investment. Now, the net present value, I know that the initial investment of that company then was 100,000. Then you look at it, we put the net present value we got there to get the profitability index of that company. Now, with this little introduction, you find out that you can definitely look at investment yourself and analyze it in your own way as a business person. But remember that the technicality lies on the financial experts. you can definitely seek a financial expert in analyzing more and getting more in-depth in all this analysis. But however, you can reach us on our YouTube and on our website for more further information on investment analysis. Thank you.